Ring ring. It's Marcus. 12:01. I'd been waiting 3 hours for this call, anxiously pacing in my room. I picked up the phone before the third ring, readying myself for Marcus's poetic drawl. Hello to our valued Hollywood Heights customer. But instead, a boisterous, theatrical voice boomed at me through the receiver. Are you paying too much for your car insurance? We're offering a very special deal just for Hollywood Heights Platinum Rewards members. You can't choose funny stuff because you're not a Golgotha. And when you're a Golgotha, you can choose funny things. Hello, is anyone there? I thought I could at least escape from scams in the unlife. Well, that is where you're wrong, sister. The biggest scam of all. Why, it's only just begun. Down to our business for tonight, however. The place you're going to go is July Company Parking, an abandoned garage downtown. That is where the parties of our doomed rendezvous are meeting. You'll need to find Randall and get him to call off negotiations. Do you follow me thus far, sister? Yeah, continue. Now listen carefully, because here comes the best part. There's a knife that Randall loves very, very much. Why, he loves that blade as much as Lot's daughter loved their daddy. If he thinks someone stole it, it'll drive him completely wild and put him in a very unprofessional mood. I heard Marcus inhaling sharply on the other end of the line, like someone preparing to gleefully deliver news. And that knife just so happens to be waiting for you at the hotel's front desk. You take that knife, show it to Randall, and pretend you took it off a Golgotha who wanted to drive a hard bargain with it. That's sure to ruin negotiations. You could easily pass for one of his rabble-rousers, so just masquerade on his side for a little while, and surely things will work themselves out. Got it, I'm ready to go. That's the spirit. Charge into Death's jaws and make him no fear. Now, once you've finished up, return to the hotel bearing all your good tidings. I have faith in you, Valkii. Then again, I also had faith in Jack Kennedy, so maybe don't call yourself the Messiah just yet. Click. It was sink or swim then. I didn't have the first idea of what to expect, and that terrified me, but if I'd survived so far in Hollywood among the living, then I'd find a way to do it among the dead. After picking up the knife from the front desk, I left the hotel and skulked out onto the street. July Company Parking. I vaguely remembered seeing that sign before, at least, so I had some idea of where to go. Steeling my nerves, I set out in the garage's direction, trying to avoid eye contact with any late-night passerby. But as I walked, I started to feel the same aching hunger I'd felt last night. It was just a dull pain at first, but it quickly grew stronger, gnawing at me from the inside. Couldn't focus on anything else. Before I entered the parking garage, I'd have to find blood to sate myself, or else the pressure would snap me. Damn it, that was probably why the fridge had 3 blood packs, not just 1. Just then, my heightened senses picked up a scent. Down the alley, the scent of a mortal. Alone. There was no one else nearby, which meant I could feed on them if I wanted to. The pain was getting worse. My body ached, my head spun, and the whole world pulsed in front of me. Given. You can't resist. Given. It was no use. I needed to feed. I needed blood, warm blood. These were my new instincts. Everything had changed, and denying that would just be a losing battle. I slipped into the alley, pulled like a magnet towards that wonderful scent. It didn't take long before I caught sight of the source. The young man let out a gasp when I stalked up to him. He'd been taking a piss behind the dumpster, but quickly zipped himself up and cleared his throat. Hello. Can I help you with something? I'm just on my way home from work. His voice trembled. This was the first time someone had ever really been afraid of me. But the only thing I could concentrate on was the smell of his blood, suddenly the most delicious scent in the world. Don't worry, I'm not going to mug you. Oh, that's a relief, haha. His nervous laughter echoed in the alleyway. I took a step towards him slowly. He stayed in place, but I could see his whole body tensing up, getting ready to turn and bolt. Another step, and another, until he was only a foot or 2 away. Pulling him into my arms. Here's our sweet blue hair. He cried out, but didn't try to struggle. In fact, it almost sounded like he was hiding his excitement. I squeezed him in an embrace, managing to fight the agonizing hunger for a few more seconds. You're dreaming, don't worry. With a shuddering breath, he closed his eyes, weakly clutching at my shirt. My lips met the side of his neck, fangs extending. I pressed them into his flesh. and sunk them in. Hot blood flooded onto my tongue down my throat, sending sparks of life into my dead body. It was pure bliss. Not like food, not even like a buzz. It was a high, a delicious shock that ran through me and lifted me up. The blood pack from last night couldn't even compare. It was like tasting ambrosia after licking dirt off the ground. But it wasn't just the taste that made the moment euphoric. It was the experience, the predatory feeling of holding this mortal who squirmed with pleasure as I fed from him. The faint whimpers leaking out from beneath my fangs, soft and sweet. Why was it so unnervingly satisfying? Slowly, his body grew limp in my arms, lightly trembling, chest rising and falling unevenly. I pulled back, licking my lips. I'd almost gotten carried away and drunk too much. It was so hard to help myself. The young man was still slumped in my arms, peacefully unconscious. I could still feel his heart beating, and his skin didn't look too pale. He'd wake up before long, or so I'd hoped. But I couldn't waste any more time. I needed to head towards the garage to catch the meeting before it ended, so I decided to carry him somewhere safe. This was LA at night, and leaving an unconscious guy lying in the alley was probably only a step away from manslaughter. Funny how this boy was in more danger from his fellow man than from a monster like me. I picked him up easily, thanks to my Mavar blood, probably, and searched the nearby buildings for a safe place to leave him. It wasn't long before I found an old dentist's office, long since abandoned. I kicked open the door and set the man down inside the dark, dusty waiting room, tossing the rug on top of him for a blanket. Better than nothing, probably. I still keep trying. I look at that sign and I'm like, what is that? Is that like what they're wearing? I can't tell what they're wearing. Is it like a dress? It looks kind of weird. Or does she have massive hands? I can't tell. At last, with a somewhat lightened conscience, I hurried back to the street. As I rushed towards the parking garage, savouring the last drops of blood on my tongue, I couldn't stop thinking about what just happened. So this is what it meant to be a vampire, an urban, unholy apex predator. A parasite, just like Marcus had said, living off somebody else's life. Can you sit down and stay sat down, There really was no going back. She loves her pizza box. July company parking garage closing October 8th. This noise that you're hearing is her stretching on the thing. Okay, how many Octobers ago, I wondered? Judging from the litter and grime all around the sign, probably quite a few had passed. Well, it didn't matter. This was the place. A bored-looking thug stood by the entrance, obviously stationed as a guard. My first trial by the looks of it. Putting on a confident expression, I strode up to him, clearing my throat. Can you sit down? Place is closed. Go dick around somewhere else. He barked a few short words out at me before I could even open my mouth. Move, I'm here for the Mavar meeting. Huh, you must be new. Pretty sure I would have remembered your face. The man snorted and laughed at cracking his neck to the side. But Randall told me not to let anyone else inside, or there's a chance of some crazy ghoul getting in. Sorry. Even if I promise you something later? Something, huh? Something like what? Whisper something incredibly dirty. What? You're into that? Well, damn, don't mind if I do. When you pass by on your way out, I'll pull you aside. I'm sure Randall will understand. Oh, he will. Mind letting me through, darling? Yeah, sure. Don't be too long in there. Heh. His name is Jack. I don't know if we'll find that out, but his name is Jack. The guard stepped aside and I didn't waste any time hurrying into the garage. I was lucky they only had muscle and not brains in front of the entrance. After darting down a few levels of the garage at top speed, I finally arrived. Loud whispers and rowdy laughter made it sound like the meeting hadn't started yet. I was just in time. The two groups standing across from each other were pretty clear-cut, and I could easily tell which house was which. One was full of rough types, probably gangsters and punks in life. Tattoos, leather, jackets, piercings, and wild eyes were everywhere. They were Mavar like me. What would they do if they knew I was here to sabotage them? Would they forgive me, or would I just be another enemy? The other group, interestingly enough, looked like the complete opposite. Eccentric outfits, soft murmurs, and a large amount of eerie smiles. Alright, let's cut the bullshit and talk conditions. A deep voice suddenly boomed through the garage, making everyone fall silent. Moments later, a tall, muscular vampire pushed his way to the front of the Mavar group. The sheer force of his presence made it instantly clear who he was. I only agreed to this meeting because I hate those Ascari bastards more than I hate you. I'm guessing it's mutual. If you want a truce, there'd better be something to sweeten the deal. I don't think these guys here will settle for anything less. Yeah, hell yeah, don't let him weasel out, Randall. Cheers of approval rang out from the rowdy group behind him. Why, of course, Mr. Randall. We wouldn't dream of offering anything but the fairest of terms for our Mavar brethren. One of the Golgotha vampires stepped forward, his sing-song voice tinged with a British accent. Fuck you, slimy bastard. We know what your game is. Snarls and jeering instantly rustled among the Mavar in response. Fairest, sure. You bastards would cheat a blind guy at dice if you could get away with it. So, what are you going to try to sell us? Fortune-telling services? Voodoo magic? We're going to need something realer than empty promises. The Golgotha vampire let out a smug chuckle like he had a hidden trump card ready. I didn't like the sound of that. If I had to crash and burn this meeting, then I'd have to do something now before they worked out a deal. Call out to them. Randall, wait. My voice echoed through the garage, painfully loud. A sea of surprised, quizzical gazes flooded towards me. Seizing the moment, I hurried up to Randall's side. He gave me a skeptical look, one brow arched in a "are you crazy" sort of way. I pulled out his knife and held it in my palms, trying to keep my face from revealing anything. Whatever I said next was going to have to be damn convincing or else. Boss, I found this on one of their guys. This kid, I don't know what you're... What the... Cutting off mid-sentence, Randall glanced down at the knife in my hands. Then his eyes slid back up to mine, meeting my gaze wordlessly for a few moments. You got this from... a Golgotha. Let me have a look at the statties. The Golgotha hate me now, a little bit. He took a deep breath. These they stole from me? Holy hell. Excuse me, Mr. Randall, would you mind explaining what's going on? The leader of the Golgotha group called over to us, clearly confused. Damn it, I can't deal with this shit right now. Mr. Randall, awfully sorry to interrupt, but we really like to present our term. Get the fuck out of here. All of you bastards, meeting's fucking cancelled. Randall's angry command echoed through the garage, loud enough to make a few vampires wince. And you guys, make sure these motherfuckers scurry back to their rat holes. He addressed his own group with a low growl, which was met with hurried nods and eager knuckle-cracking. I'll meet you outside in a little while. Go on, get going. Alright, you heard the man. Come on, let's go. Within seconds, the garage turned into a chaotic mess of Golgotha vampires fending off rabid Mavar, who pushed and shoved them to the exit. It was easy to tell how much Randall's group was hungry for a fight, but the Golgotha vampires stayed placid, like they refused to give the Mavar what they wanted. The confusion and shouting went on for a few hectic minutes, but eventually the garage emptied, leaving behind only Randall and me. Man, you have some balls. After a long moment of silence, Randall let out a long, tired sigh, finally turning his attention back to me. That was supposed to be a trick, right? You were trying to turn me against the Gauls? Not gonna lie, it was a pretty shitty attempt. Even if they did bring my knife as a bargain-in chip, there's no way they'd be that careless with it. Let me guess, Queen Bitch sent you, didn't she? You mean Charisse? Who the hell else? Fucking Charisse, figures. She must have known I'd see through this. It's too obvious. What the hell is she aiming for? Iscari and their mind games, damn it. Randall growled deep in his throat, fangs bared like a wild animal, but his rage didn't seem focused at me, much to my surprise. He was still holding the knife too, so I considered myself lucky. Ugh. Finally he let out a groan, most of the anger on his face fading into annoyance. Probably good we didn't bargain with those freaks anyway. They were up to something, just like always. But you, I've never seen your face before, and I've seen just about every vampire in LA. And since you were sent on a suicide mission, it doesn't take a whole lot of detective work to see that you're new. Cannon fodder, kicked out to die. What's your name, anyway? It's Valkii. Valkii, huh? You're a Mavar, I can tell. Makes me sad just to look at you, being forced to work for the wrong house, like some dog with a shock collar. A look of genuine pity reflected in his eyes as they flicked over me. You belong with us, kid, not those Iscari pussies. Your blood knows it, and you know it too, don't you? It's just like Queen Bitch taking a newbie and throwing her out to the sharks. But there's not a whole lot I can do for you, not with her on high alert. The Ascari still have the most power in LA right now, so if Charisse wanted you dead, well, you'd be dead. She'd find you no matter where you tried to hide out. Taking you in right now, well, you'd be too much of a risk, and I gotta look out for me and my group. His shoulders raised in a hapless shrug, one hand scratching at the back of his head. He really did sound apologetic, even though he didn't necessarily have any reason to be. Well, Charisse wants a truce with you eventually. Would you agree to one? What? She says you're the leader of the Mavar and wants to be allies. Ha. A choked laugh of disbelief erupted from his throat. If he reacted like that just to the mention of an alliance, it probably didn't bode well for Charisse. That's the dumbest thing I've heard all month, and I just read a magazine ad trying to tell me my dick wasn't big enough. Again, just the weirdest thing to say to someone you don't know. Sure, these guys look up to me, but I'm not their leader. They have no leader. That's kind of the fucking point. Told her that 100 goddamn times too. Hard concept for a dolled up fascist to grasp, I guess. He muttered his last words spitefully, grinding a stray piece of gravel underneath his boot. Yeah, I think Charisse might have been pals with Stalin. Ha, she's been around long enough, that's for sure. If you gave that woman Stalin's power, though, he visibly shuddered, probably not wanting to picture the scenario any further. Christ, I can't believe Queen Bitch thinks I'll work under her. Every Ascari's always out to use or kill you for power, that's just how it goes. They say they're all about beauty and peace and words over fighting, but it's all a fucking sham. One big bunch of snakes. And those Golgotha creeps, they're all wrapped up in shit, I don't know, conspiracy theories or weird prophecies or something. Except for Marcus anyway. Marcus is the best Gaul I know around here. Marcus is amazing, weird sunglasses and all. Let's be nice to Marcus now too. Right? I've got no idea why the fuck he wears those things, but hey, it's a free country. Marcus, man, I used to hate his guts since he was always playing nice with Queen Bitch. Not to mention that slow, preachy way he talks. But then, when I shut up and actually listened to what he said, I realized he's got it all figured out. The politics, the mind games, everything. Randall paused, shaking his head in bemused awe. He didn't seem like the type of guy who'd respect just anyone, so the fact that he thought so highly of Marcus must have really meant something. That guy could be king of Los Angeles if he wanted to, hell, probably the whole world, but instead he just hangs out in his pawn store and sells giant rubber dicks. Really makes you think, doesn't it? Ha 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 ha. Randall clutched his stomach, doubling O's over as if he'd just cracked the best joke of the century. Yeah, what about the Mavar? I'm one of you guys. Yeah, you got Mavar written all over you, kid. That hot blood you have running through your veins, now that's something you and I have in common. Not a whole lot to say about us, really. Mavar don't complicate shit. We just don't stand for unfair rules, and Queen Bitch is full of them. Vampires should be able to do whatever the hell they want. No murder sprees, and no revealing your nature in public. Aside from that, we like to live our own lives as we damn well please. Usually on the wilder side. Got a problem with another vampire? Face them head on, no politics. That shit's for the Ascari. We're beasts after all, and Mavar don't hide from that. We embrace it. But we're more than just beasts, right? Well, humanity isn't about whether you're alive or not. It's about how you treat others, just like when you were mortal. It's only when you start losing yourself, killing for pleasure, torturing someone's body or mind, that you really become a monster. But enjoying your wild side, partying, defending your territory, all that shit, I'll take that over bureaucratic games any day. Randall let out a sigh, then eyeing me regretfully. I'd like to take you with me, but as I said, it's too much of a risk. While you're still on Queen Bitch's leash, everyone's gonna have it in for you, even the Ascari. Once you're free though, maybe you can run with me and my guys. I sure as hell won't be bossing you around. Really? Sign me up. Man, I miss it when I still have the energy to get real excited about shit. With a wry smile, Randall reached out to clamp a large hand on my shoulder, squeezing it roughly. Alright kid, it's been fun, but I need to go make sure the others aren't running down goals in the street or anything else too crazy. I'm usually at the beach with my crew, so if you ever decide to hop on to the winning team... He trailed off and clicked his tongue playfully, winking at me. Thanks, Randall. Nah, no need to thank me. We were all newbies once. I do my best to remember that. And with that, we parted ways. I left the parking garage with a slightly clearer picture of the world I'd been tossed into thanks to Randall. Luckily, the guard at the entrance was gone, so I avoided another awkward encounter. Maybe Randall would explain things to him later. That whole mess had worked out somehow, although I had to wonder how much was just beginner's luck, since most of it seemed too convenient to be true. Right, let's go give our report. I arrived at the hotel with an overwhelming sense of relief, making my way to the meeting room from last night. As it turned out, Charisse and Heath were already waiting for me. Welcome back, Valkii. We already heard about the little mess you caused at the parking garage. Word travels fast. Heath's airy voice rang with pride, and he offered me an encouraging smile. Yes, you've done quite an impressive job. Your performance certainly surpassed my expectations. Unsurprisingly, Charisse didn't match Heath's smile, but she did offer me a sharp nod. It was a piece of cake. Ahem. Before we go any further, let me clear the air. I predicted that Randall would see through the knife deception. However, you accomplished a twofold task, perhaps without realizing it. You disrupted their truce discussions, at least for now, and you also made yourself known by name to Randall, who is a significantly powerful vampire. From the smug lilt in her tone, I could tell Charisse was pretty pleased with the outcome of events. Did that mean my instincts were right? None of what had happened back there was an accident? As I mentioned earlier, your naivety is assumed by everyone you meet. Even secretive, insular vampires will open up to you simply because they want to win you to their cause. You should use this to your advantage while you still can. Ingratiate yourself with those who believe you have no allegiances. Duly noted, I'm not as naive as they think I am. Indeed, I believe you have keen insight. It will undoubtedly serve you well in the tangled webs of our society. She sniffed pointedly, nudging her glasses back up her nose. That matter aside, I have another task for you. It entails less conflict, but is of equal importance. Please, go on. One of my contacts in South LA was unreachable tonight. I need to know why, but I can't spare any of my other associates to go find her. Things are very busy, you see. I imagine she's perfectly fine, as she often vanishes for a night or two to engage in frivolities, but I'd like to confirm the situation. Go to the area, track her down, and report back to me. Not too complicated, is it? Understood. I'll be back once I found your contact. Excellent. I have the greatest faith you'll carry out the promise. That promise. My calm response seemed to please Charisse, who peered at me contently from over her glasses. Very well. One final thing, Valkii, before you go. Yes, Miss Locke? I suggest you partner yourself with, or at least try to learn from, an older vampire. My agent Heath is relatively new himself, but he may have some valuable insights on Hollywood to share with you. When Charisse mentioned his name, Heath perked up, his eyes sparkling curiously. Did I hear you compliment me just now, Charisse? I was merely stating the facts. She coolly replied to Heath without missing a beat. Oh, I see. Moving along, Marcus too possesses remarkable insight and knowledge, but as a Golgotha he is also particularly eccentric, and his loyalties are unpredictable. Take everything he says with a grain of salt. And this may come as a surprise, but if you decide to seek out Randall as a mentor, I won't stop you. I acknowledge the strength of his position, as well as his charisma and conviction. However, do not let yourself be swayed by his anarchistic beliefs. The current war is proof of what happens when vampires eschew leadership: chaos, paranoia, and bloodshed. Thanks for the advice, I'll choose carefully. So you should. The decision may be the most important one you'll ever make. Heath and I will be staying here to discuss affairs, but I'll expect your report in the next few days, Valkii. She lifted an elegant hand, pointedly gesturing towards the door. Heath looked disappointed, flashing me an apologetic grimace when Charisse wasn't looking, but it seemed like he was stuck there for the moment. Well, we all know who I'm choosing this time. I took the hint and left, heading towards the elevator. A part of me wondered what affairs they were talking about, but eavesdropping probably wasn't worth the risk. My room welcomed me back with all its glamorous, lifeless shine, but as relieved and happy as I was to complete my trial, I felt incredibly restless and uneasy. Lifting the curtains with one hand, I gazed out the window, absorbing the vibrant cityscape before me. Yesterday it had all felt like a dream. Today reality was finally setting in. I was a vampire chained to eternity, trapped behind glass, separated from the Hollywood life I dreamed of, so close and forever unreachable. Like the cityscape, that dream would always glitter in the distance, a reminder of what I'd lost. No matter how strong I was, it still felt like my whole world had just plunged upside down, and I couldn't find anywhere to put my feet. Maybe I really did need a mentor to help me through this. Rules, etiquette, and powers, I could figure those out by myself given enough time, but that wasn't what I needed most. I needed a way to ground myself, to figure out what being a vampire really meant, and who I was becoming. The three men Charisse mentioned seemed to know what they were doing, if nothing else. There was a good chance that one of them could help me discover my place in this new life. With that, I made up my mind. Tomorrow I'd go and see Randall. Randall was the most casual, friendly vampire I'd met so far. Blunt and opinionated, maybe, but I had the sense he wouldn't try to manipulate me, unlike most others probably would. Besides, he was a Mavar too. Maybe he could teach me how to use my new strength to its full potential. With any luck, Randall wouldn't mind helping me out, despite the rocky start we got off to. Then it was settled. Tomorrow I'd take a break from running Sharice's errands and go find Randall instead. That thought was only a small pillar in the whirlwind I'd been thrown into, but I clung to it as tightly as I could. Click. So good. A little excitement sparked through me as I shut the curtains, curling onto my bed to hide from the coming daylight. If this was what fate had in store for me, then so be it. I would fight and struggle to stay afloat in this world I'd been thrown into, and no matter what, I wouldn't give up. Even if it meant I would never see another sunrise again. My feet sank into the soft, welcoming sand. A gentle rhythm of crashing waves filled my ears, washing over the distant cries of seagulls. It felt so different from the glittering bustle of Hollywood and downtown LA. Almost like a remote, isolated bubble of paradise. After taking a taxi from the hotel to Santa Monica, I'd been wandering around for a little while looking for Randall's place. The only directions he'd given me were at the beach, which wasn't exactly the most helpful. Luckily, I could smell, or rather sense, the presence of vampires nearby, but this time it felt like I was tracking a blob instead of individual scents, as if they'd all morphed together into one giant presence. My feet soon took me to a rickety house by the waterfront. I heard a familiar, charismatic voice booming through the windows, which meant this was definitely the place. Valkii! A few seconds after I knocked, the door swung open. At first, Randall looked shocked to see me, but his mouth soon curled into a guarded smile. No, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting you to show up again. Well, I just couldn't keep myself away. Oh yeah? Sounding more than a little skeptical, he raised an eyebrow at me. I could almost believe it if you weren't on Queen Bitch's leash. She sent you here, didn't she? Don't be a dick about it. You said I could stop by any time, right? Well, yeah, but... fuck it. Even if you came to spy on me, at least you're good entertainment. There's probably nothing Queen Bitch doesn't know about me already, so stop standing around and come inside. Randall beckoned me impatiently into the house, so I followed him past the sandy threshold. The living room was far from empty, a number of vampires crowded around in conversation, some standing and others lounging on the couch and chairs. But when they noticed me, the chatter dropped into a low, guarded murmur and sharp looks flew at me from all directions. Hello everyone, wiggle my fingers. My friendly greeting, however, wasn't met with much of a reply. Hey, isn't that the kid who gave you the knife, Randall? Yeah, I think I recognize her face. A few vampires raised their voices warily, glancing between Randall and me. Relax, we worked it out, alright? Randall eyed the vampires who raised their hackles, wearing the slightly disappointed look of an older brother dealing with immature siblings. Besides, she's one of us. If any one of you was stuck in Queen Bitch's service, I'd open my door to you the same way. A moment later, their hostile gazes began melting away, and the room echoed with a few sheepish coughs and grumbles. Shit, I guess you're right, like usual. It's kinda easy to forget sometimes that we all had it rough at the start. The chatter gradually resumed to its previous volume, and with the exception of a few lingering glares, the hostility in the room subsided. It was like Randall had flipped some kind of switch. I'd seen at the garage how much of his group listened to him, but it seemed even more obvious now. Sorry about that, kid. Clearing his throat, Randall let out a faint chuckle. Everyone's just a little jumpy with this war shit going on, and with you working for Sharice, they don't hesitate to get defensive. It's fine, I get why they'd be suspicious of me. Good, don't take it too personally, okay? Just how things work around here, for now anyway. He glanced away for a moment, an idle smile flickering across his lips. Anyway, come on over to the couch, let me introduce you to a few folk. Once they meet the big ol' evil Valkii in the flesh, maybe they'll warm up to you. With one hand gently steering my shoulder, Randall led me through the throng of vampires, and I felt numerous gazes on me as we passed by. We ended up in front of a small group sprawled out on the sofa and chairs, their conversation quickly dying down as we approached. Hey everyone, give Valkii here your best welcome. A mumbled chorus of highs and hays rose up from the group, not exactly ringing with enthusiasm, but I noticed one girl hadn't said anything at all, and judging from his raised eyebrow, Randall had noticed too. What was that, Marla? Come on, cut the sulking act for half a minute and give her that winning smile you got. When he addressed the girl, a pretty vampire with a wealth of curly hair restrained by a headband, she let out a long groaning sigh. Alright, hi newbie. I'm Marla, I fix cars and kick the asses of people who mess with our clan. You might want to keep that in mind. You sound awesome, we should be friends. Oh yeah? She blinked, looking entirely caught off guard by my warm reply. Well, I guess, yeah, if you come around more, I could show you some of our cool rides or something. I'm gonna save it. But I'm gonna try and catch her off guard again. No, not that one. This one. Let's call it a date, hmm? You move fast, huh? Might want to put the brakes on there, kid. Okay, Marla's boyfriend, yeah. I just wanted to see what would happen. I like that. Alright, newbie, just don't piss me off in the meantime. She offered me a slight, wary smile, studying my face with guarded curiosity. Alright, now over here we've got Marla's boyfriend and our resident gunsmith, Ziggy. He pointed towards a young Asian guy leaning against Marla's side, his shaggy black hair obscuring one eye. Ziggy smiled shyly at me, nodding his head a little. Guns, huh? I might need you to hook me up. I don't know, I'm gonna save it again. I don't really know what to say to these people. Ziggy visibly brightened at that, nodding again, but this time much more eagerly. Zig never really says a whole lot, but he's a good kid. Good with guns too, most of us have to pack heat when we go near Hollywood these days. And let's see, this fine lady here is... I don't know how to say that, so we're gonna... I mean, I'm not sure how to say that. Let me see. Is it like... I don't know. I know it's a Spanish name. But how do you say it? How do you say it? That's what I'm looking for. It's very simple. I'm looking for how to say it. Fine, we'll go to fucking Google Translate. As I usually do. Spanish.
Joaquina.
Joaquina? Okay.
Joaquina.
Joaquina. Our damsel from the age of the Wild West. The next vampire Randall motioned to was a much older woman, probably nearing her 70s, who looked Hispanic, with long grey hair and a wrinkled face. She's everyone's grandma, except instead of baking cookies, she likes to sharpshoot motherfuckers who cross too many lines. Step on her toes and she'll lasso your ass and dangle you off a cliff. Howdy, Valkii. That little jig you pulled at the parking garage damn near had my side splitting open. Just try not to pull it again, or else I might have to split your sides open, eh? Flashing me a teasing grin, Joaquina broke out into a deep, raspy laughter that Randall instantly joined in on. That was a one-time thing, don't worry. Well, you turn it back around on old Queen Bitch and you won't be hearing any more complaints from me. She waved a finger in the air, then jabbed it towards me encouragingly. Alright. Last but not least, our new and lovable scaredy cat. Oh yeah, no. It's Jack. Oh yeah, you guys already met, didn't you? Yeah. As Randall gestured to the last man on the couch, I realized I'd seen him before. The same thug who was guarding the parking garage. When our eyes met, he grimaced and quickly looked away, pulling his hood further over his head. He was one of the newest vampires in LA before you came along, Valkii, so he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground either. Go on, Jack, don't be shy. Yeah, I'm Jack. He cleared his throat, eyes darting nervously between Randall and me. That thing you said to me back there, I knew that, it was a joke, 'cause how our bodies work and everything, you know? I just felt bad for you, so I let you go in, yeah. You're just a downright saint, aren't you? Yeah, well. Okay, I think that's everyone. Yeah, I will see you in the next one.